The screech of worn brakes announced Isaac Dawson's arrival at Morrison Park, his ancient Toyota pickup shuddering to a stop in the icy parking lot as his 6-year-old daughter Emma pressed her face against the frosted window. He was late picking her up from her grandmother's house, and his chest tightened with the familiar guilt that seemed to accompany every moment of his life since his wife Rebecca had died 3 years ago from complications during what should have been a routine surgery. The loss had gutted him financially and emotionally, leaving him to raise Emma alone on his modest income as a construction foreman. He loved his daughter more than life itself, but some days the weight of being both mother and father felt like trying to carry the world on shoulders that were already shaking. "Dad, can we walk through the park?" Emma asked, her breath fogging the glass. "Grandma said there's a big Christmas tree with lights." Isaac glanced at his watch. It was already 4:30, and the December sun was setting fast, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. He had promised Emma they would stop at the grocery store to pick up ingredients for the spaghetti dinner they had planned together. But the hope in her hazel eyes, so much like her mother's, made the decision for him. "Sure, sweetheart, but just for a few minutes, okay? It's getting cold." They climbed out of the truck, and Isaac immediately felt the bite of the winter air through his worn work jacket. Emma, bundled in her puffy pink coat that was starting to get too small, grabbed his calloused hand and pulled him toward the park's main path. The walkway was lined with luminarias, paper bags filled with sand and candles, creating a magical pathway through the trees. Someone had clearly invested serious money in the park's holiday decorations this year, and Isaac felt a pang of inadequacy. He had managed to buy Emma a small artificial tree from the discount store, and they had decorated it together with homemade ornaments and a string of lights he had found at a garage sale. It was nothing like the elaborate displays surrounding them now. As they walked, Emma chattered about her day at her grandmother's house, about the cookies they had baked and the cartoon she had watched. Isaac listened, making appropriate sounds of interest, but his mind was already calculating. He needed to make the mortgage payment by the end of the week, and his truck needed new tires before the winter weather got worse. The grocery budget was tight, and he had been stretching every dollar until it screamed. But Emma's happiness, the light in her eyes as she looked at the twinkling decorations, made every sacrifice worth it. They rounded a corner in the path, approaching a small bridge that arced over a frozen stream. The Christmas tree Emma had mentioned stood on the other side, its branches heavy with ornaments and lights that were just beginning to glow in the gathering darkness. Emma squealed with delight and started to pull him forward faster. That was when he saw her. A woman stood at the apex of the bridge, looking down at the frozen water below. She wore an elegant cream-colored wool coat that probably cost more than Isaac's monthly mortgage payment, and her dark auburn hair fell in waves over her shoulders. Even from a distance, there was something about her posture that spoke of grace and refinement. She seemed lost in thought, one gloved hand resting on the bridge's wooden railing. Emma was still pulling him forward, and they were halfway across the bridge when it happened. The woman turned, clearly intending to walk back the way she had come, and her foot hit a patch of black ice that was invisible against the weathered wood of the bridge. Isaac saw her eyes widen in surprise as her feet went out from under her, her arms windmilling as she fought for balance. He moved without thinking, instinct and years of construction work, giving him reflexes most office workers would never develop. He released Emma's hand and lunged forward, covering the distance in 3 long strides. His arms caught the woman just before she hit the ground, one hand behind her back and the other supporting her knees as he lifted her clear of the ice patch. The momentum carried them both sideways, and Isaac's boot found purchase on the dry wood at the edge of the bridge. He steadied himself, holding the woman securely against his chest. For a moment, neither of them moved. Isaac found himself looking down into the most striking pair of green eyes he had ever seen. They were the color of sea glass, wide with surprise and something else he could not quite identify. The woman's lips were slightly parted, and he could feel the rapid rise and fall of her chest against his own. She smelled like expensive perfume, something floral and sophisticated that made him acutely aware of his own scent of sawdust and honest sweat. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice rough. The woman blinked, and a slow smile spread across her face. It transformed her from beautiful to absolutely stunning, and Isaac felt something in his chest shift, a sensation he had not experienced in so long he had almost forgotten what it felt like. "I am now," she said softly. "Thank you." That could have been quite painful. Isaac became aware of Emma tugging on his jacket. "Dad, is the lady okay?" He carefully set the woman on her feet, making sure she was steady before releasing her. "She's fine, honey, just slipped on some ice." The woman looked down at Emma, and her smile grew even warmer. "You must be very proud to have such a quick-thinking father. He just saved me from a very embarrassing fall." Emma beamed with pride. "My dad is the strongest in the whole world. He can lift me up on his shoulders and everything." The woman laughed, a genuine sound that seemed to ring through the cold air like music. She extended her hand to Isaac. "I'm Sophia Morrison, and I really cannot thank you enough." Isaac shook her hand, noting how small and delicate it felt in his own work-roughened grip. "Isaac Dawson." "This is my daughter Emma. No thanks necessary, just glad I was here to catch you." "Morrison," Emma piped up. "Like the park?" Sophia's smile faltered for just a moment, and Isaac caught a flicker of something in her expression. "Yes, like the park. My family donated some money to help maintain it." Isaac felt a flush of embarrassment creep up his neck. Of course she was rich. The expensive coat, the perfectly styled hair, the way she carried herself, he should have known immediately. People like her did not usually cross paths with people like him, except maybe when they needed something built or fixed. He took a small step back, suddenly conscious of the oil stain on his jeans and the frayed cuffs of his jacket. "Well, we should let you get on with your evening," he said, reaching for Emma's hand. "Be careful on the ice." Sophia's hand shot out, not quite touching his arm but stopping him nonetheless. "Wait, please. Could I at least buy you coffee or something, as a thank you?" Isaac shook his head. "That's not necessary, really." "I know it's not necessary," Sophia said, and there was something almost desperate in her voice that made Isaac pause. "But I would like to. There's a coffee shop just outside the park entrance. Please, just a quick cup to warm up." Emma tugged on Isaac's hand. "Can we, Dad? I like hot chocolate." Isaac looked down at his daughter, then back at Sophia. The sensible part of his brain was screaming at him to politely decline and walk away. Women like Sophia Morrison did not have coffee with men like him. They lived in different worlds, and any interaction between them was bound to be awkward at best. But there was something in Sophia's eyes, a vulnerability that he had not expected, that made him hesitate. "Just a quick cup," he heard himself say. "We need to get groceries after." The relief that flooded Sophia's face was so profound that it made Isaac wonder what he had just agreed to. They walked together toward the park entrance, Emma skipping ahead to look at the decorations while Isaac and Sophia followed at a slower pace. The silence between them was not uncomfortable, exactly, but Isaac could not shake the feeling that he was in over his head. The coffee shop was one of those trendy places with exposed brick walls and baristas who took their craft very seriously. Isaac had driven past it dozens of times, but had never been inside. The prices in the window were the kind that made his wallet weep. Sophia held the door open, and warm air rushed out to greet them, carrying the rich scent of roasted coffee and fresh pastries. Inside, the shop was decorated for the holidays, with garlands draped over the counter and a small tree in the corner. Soft jazz played from hidden speakers, and the handful of customers looked like they belonged in a lifestyle magazine. Isaac felt profoundly out of place, but Emma's excitement as she pressed her face against the pastry case made him swallow his discomfort. "Pick whatever you want, sweetie," Sophia said to Emma before Isaac could stop her. To him, she added, "Please, it's the least I can do." Isaac wanted to argue, but Emma was already pointing at a chocolate croissant, and Sophia was smiling at her with such genuine warmth that he found himself nodding. They ordered, Sophia insisting on paying despite Isaac's protests, and found a table by the window. Emma immediately dove into her croissant, getting chocolate on her nose, while Isaac wrapped his hands around a cup of black coffee that probably cost more than his usual lunch. "So," Sophia said, cradling her own cup of something fancy with foam art on top. "Tell me about yourself, Isaac." "What do you do?" "Construction," Isaac said. "I'm a foreman for timber ridge builders. We do mostly residential work, some commercial." Sophia's eyes lit up with what seemed like genuine interest. That must be rewarding work, creating things, building homes for families. Isaac shrugged. "It pays the bills, keeps a roof over our heads." "Do you enjoy it?" The question caught him off guard. When was the last time anyone had asked if he enjoyed his work? He thought about it for a moment, really considered it. "Yeah, I do." There's something satisfying about seeing a project come together, watching a house go from just a foundation to a home, and the guys on my crew are good people. "My dad builds the best houses," Emma chimed in, chocolate smeared across her chin. "He helped build the new school playground, too." Sophia reached over and gently wiped Emma's chin with a napkin, the gesture so natural and maternal that it made Isaac's throat tight. "That sounds wonderful. The city needs more playgrounds." They talked for nearly an hour, the conversation flowing more easily than Isaac would have thought possible. Sophia asked about Emma, about what she liked to do, what grade she was in. She listened intently when Emma launched into an animated description of her teacher, Miss Patterson, and the class guinea pig named Mr. Whiskers. Isaac found himself relaxing, forgetting for a moment about the differences between their worlds. But eventually, Emma started to yawn, and Isaac knew they needed to leave. "We really should get going. Still need to hit the grocery store before it gets too late." Sophia's face fell just for a moment before she composed herself. "Of course. Thank you for indulging me. I have enjoyed this more than you know." They stood, and Isaac helped Emma into her coat. As they walked toward the door, Sophia touched his arm gently. "Isaac, could I ask you something?" He turned to face her, surprised by the nervousness in her voice. "Sure." "Would you consider giving me your phone number? I would like to see you again. Both of you," she added quickly, glancing at Emma. Isaac's first instinct was to say no, to make a polite excuse and walk away from whatever this was before it became complicated, but something stopped him. Maybe it was the way Sophia looked at him, like he was someone worth knowing. Maybe it was the loneliness he had been carrying for 3 years, the weight of being alone that he only acknowledged in the dark hours of the night when Emma was asleep. Or maybe it was simply that Sophia made him feel something other than tired and worried for the first time in longer than he could remember. He pulled out his phone, old and battered, and they exchanged numbers. Sophia's fingers flew over her screen, and a moment later his phone buzzed with a text. "There, now you have mine too." Outside, the temperature had dropped even further, and Isaac could see his breath misting in the air. He lifted Emma onto his shoulders, her favorite spot, and she giggled as he started walking toward where he had parked the truck. Sophia stood in the doorway of the coffee shop, watching them go, and when Isaac glanced back, she raised her hand in a small wave in the truck. Emma was quiet for a few minutes before saying, "I like her, Dad. She's nice." "Yeah, she is," Isaac agreed, turning the key and willing the engine to start. It coughed and sputtered before catching, and he sent up a silent prayer of thanks. "But she's just someone we helped today, okay? We probably will not see her again." Even as he said it, he wondered if it was true. And he was surprised to realize that part of him hoped it was not. The grocery store was mostly empty at this hour, and Isaac moved through the aisles with practiced efficiency while Emma sat in the cart, occasionally adding items to their basket when he gave her permission. He was calculating prices in his head, the numbers an automatic reflex, when his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, expecting a message from his foreman about tomorrow's job site. Instead, it was from Sophia. I had a wonderful time this evening. Thank you for humoring me. Would you and Emma like to come to dinner sometime this week? I promise I'm a decent cook. Isaac stared at the message for a long moment. Emma peered over his shoulder. Who is it? It's Sophia, the lady from the park. What does she say? Isaac showed her the message, and Emma's face lit up. Can we go, Dad, please? I don't know, honey. We don't really know her. But she was so nice, and she wiped my face and everything. Isaac could not help but smile at the logic. In Emma's 6-year-old world, face wiping apparently equaled trustworthiness. But he had to admit, there was something about Sophia that intrigued him. She had not treated him like a charity case or someone beneath her notice. She had talked to him like an equal, had listened to what he said, had engaged with Emma like she genuinely cared. Before he could overthink it, he typed back, "That's kind of you. When were you thinking?" The response came almost immediately. Is Friday too soon? Around 6. Friday was 3 days away. Isaac checked his mental calendar. No major projects due, no plans except the usual routine of work and Emma. Friday works. Can I bring anything? Just yourselves. I'll send you my address. Another message came through a moment later with an address in Riverside Heights, one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in the city. Isaac felt his stomach tighten. Of course she lived there. Where else would a Morrison live? The houses in that area had gates and perfectly manicured lawns and probably cost more than he would make in 10 lifetimes. We're going, Emma asked hopefully. We're going, Isaac confirmed, and his daughter threw her arms around his neck, nearly knocking a display of soup cans over with her enthusiasm. The next 3 days passed in a blur of work and anticipation that Isaac tried hard not to acknowledge. He found himself thinking about Sophia at odd moments, remembering the way she had smiled, the sound of her laugh, the softness of her hand in his. He told himself he was being ridiculous, that this was just a thank you dinner, that a woman like Sophia Morrison could not possibly be interested in a guy like him beyond a basic gesture of gratitude. But he bought a new shirt anyway, telling himself it was because his old ones were all worn out, not because he wanted to look presentable. And he spent extra time on Thursday night making sure Emma's best dress was clean and pressed, even though she complained that it was itchy. Friday arrived with nervous anticipation thrumming through Isaac's veins. He left work an hour early, enduring the good-natured teasing from his crew when he told them he had plans. At home, he showered thoroughly, scrubbing away the day's dirt and sweat, and changed into his new shirt, a dark blue button-down that Emma said made his eyes look pretty. You look handsome, Dad, she said seriously as he combed his hair in the bathroom mirror. Thanks, kiddo. You look beautiful. Emma twirled in her dress, navy blue with white flowers. Do you think Miss Sophia will like it? I think Miss Sophia will love it. The drive to Riverside Heights took 20 minutes, and with every mile, Isaac felt his nervousness increase. The houses got bigger and more impressive, set back from the street behind iron gates and tall hedges. When his GPS announced they had arrived, Isaac found himself staring at a Victorian-style mansion that looked like something out of a movie. Tall windows glowed with warm light, and the front garden, even in winter, was beautifully landscaped. Wow, Emma breathed. It's like a castle. Yeah, Isaac agreed faintly, like a castle. He almost turned around right then. This was a mistake. What was he doing here? But before he could put the truck in reverse, the front door opened, and Sophia appeared, waving at them with what looked like genuine excitement. She wore jeans and a soft green sweater, her hair pulled back in a casual ponytail, and somehow she looked even more beautiful than she had in her expensive coat. Isaac parked on the street, not trusting his leaking truck on the pristine driveway, and helped Emma out. They walked up the stone pathway together, Emma holding tight to his hand. Sophia met them at the door, her smile warm and welcoming. I'm so glad you came, she said. Please come in. The inside of the house was somehow both grand and cozy. High ceilings and elegant molding spoke to the home's age and value, but the furniture was comfortable looking, and there were personal touches everywhere. Photographs on the mantel, books stacked on side tables, a throw blanket draped over the back of a couch. It looked lived in, loved, despite its size. "Your home is beautiful," Isaac said, because it seemed like something he should say. "Thank you. It's too big for just me, honestly, but it was my parents' house. After they passed, I could not bring myself to sell it." Sophia's voice held a note of sadness that made Isaac look at her more closely. "But enough about that. Dinner is almost ready. Emma, would you like to help me set the table?" Emma nodded enthusiastically and followed Sophia toward what Isaac assumed was the dining room. He trailed behind, feeling awkward and out of place. The dining room was as impressive as the rest of the house, with a table that could easily seat 12, but Sophia had set 3 places at one end, creating a more intimate setting. Emma helped Sophia place napkins and silverware, chattering away about her day at school. Isaac watched them together, struck by how natural Sophia was with his daughter, how patient and attentive. Most of the women he had met since Rebecca's death had been either overly sugary with Emma, talking to her like she was a baby, or uncomfortable, not knowing how to interact with a child. Sophia just treated her like a person, listening to her stories and responding with genuine interest. Dinner was a simple meal of roasted chicken, vegetables, and rice, but it was cooked perfectly. They ate at the small end of the table, Emma between Isaac and Sophia, and the conversation flowed easily. Sophia asked about Isaac's week, and he found himself telling her about a difficult renovation project, the challenges of working with old materials in a historic home. She listened intently, asking intelligent questions that showed she was really paying attention. "My father was in development," she said when he paused. "He built commercial properties, mostly. I grew up hearing about construction challenges at the dinner table." "Is that what you do?" Isaac asked, realizing he knew almost nothing about her except her last name and her address. Sophia's expression became guarded. "I manage the family foundation now. After my parents died, I inherited their estate, and I have been working on using it to support various causes in the community. It is not as hands-on as your work, but it is fulfilling in its own way." Isaac did not miss the careful wording. She had inherited an estate, which probably meant she was worth millions. The Morrison name was well known in the city, attached to several buildings and the park where they had met. And here she was, having dinner with a construction foreman and his 6-year-old daughter. It did not make sense, and Isaac felt the familiar discomfort of being out of his depth. After dinner, Sophia suggested they have dessert in the more casual living room. She produced homemade brownies and ice cream, and Emma's eyes went wide with delight. They settled on the couches, Emma between them again, and she regaled Sophia with stories about Mr. Whiskers, the class guinea pig, and her best friend Lily. Isaac watched Sophia's face as she listened to Emma, saw the way her eyes softened, the genuine affection in her smile. And he saw something else too, something that looked like longing. It made him wonder about her life, about why a beautiful, wealthy woman was spending her Friday night with them instead of at some fancy event or dinner party. Emma started to yawn around 8:30, her head drooping against Isaac's side. He glanced at his watch and was shocked to realize they had been there for nearly 3 hours. Time had flown by in a way it rarely did anymore. "We should get going," he said reluctantly. "Someone has an early morning tomorrow with her soccer game." Sophia looked disappointed but nodded. "Of course. Thank you for coming. I have had such a lovely evening." "Thank you for having us," Isaac replied. "Dinner was amazing." At the door, as Isaac was helping Emma into her coat, Sophia touched his arm gently. "Isaac, could I ask you something?" He turned to face her, noting how close they were standing, how he could see the flecks of gold in her green eyes. "Sure. Would you like to do this again? Not just dinner, but maybe something with Emma? I was thinking about going to the Christmas festival downtown next weekend. They have activities for kids, ice skating, that sort of thing. Would you both like to come?" Isaac hesitated. Every rational part of his brain was telling him to make an excuse, to thank her politely and end this before it became something more complicated. But another part, the part that had been dormant for 3 years, was waking up. The part that wanted to see where this might lead, that enjoyed Sophia's company, that noticed the way she looked at him when she thought he was not watching. Emma would love that, he said carefully. But Sophia, I need to ask, why are you doing this? We're just people you met in a park. You don't owe us anything. Sophia's cheeks flushed slightly, and she looked down at her feet before meeting his eyes again. Honestly, I am lonely, Isaac. I have been for a long time. My parents died 2 years ago, and since then, I have thrown myself into work, into the foundation, into keeping busy. But busy is not the same as happy. And when I met you and Emma, when we had coffee and talked like real people instead of just exchanging pleasantries, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. I felt like maybe I could have friends, real connections, not just people who want something from me because of my name or my money. The vulnerability in her voice struck something deep in Isaac's chest. He understood loneliness, the bone-deep ache of it, the way it could make you feel hollow even in a crowded room. And he understood the fear of letting someone in, of risking more pain when you had already lost so much. Okay, he said softly, the Christmas festival sounds great. Sophia's smile was like the sun breaking through clouds. Really, but I'm paying for our tickets. Deal, Sophia agreed, and she held out her hand to shake on it. When Isaac took her hand, he held it for just a moment longer than necessary, and neither of them seemed inclined to let go. On the drive home, Emma fell asleep in her car seat almost immediately, exhausted from the excitement of the evening. Isaac drove through the quiet streets, his mind churning. He had not felt this way about anyone since Rebecca. It scared him how quickly Sophia was getting under his skin, how much he looked forward to seeing her again. But it also felt right, in a way he could not quite explain. The following week passed in a flurry of text messages. Sophia sent funny pictures of things she encountered during her day, asked about Emma's soccer game, checked in about Isaac's work. The messages were casual, friendly, but there was an undercurrent to them that Isaac could not ignore. She was interested in him, in his life, in the little details that most people would not care about. And he found himself sharing things with her that he had not talked about in years. His frustrations with his old truck, his pride when Emma scored a goal at her soccer game, his worries about the upcoming holidays, and whether he could afford to give Emma the Christmas she deserved. Sophia never offered to help financially, which Isaac appreciated more than she probably knew. She just listened, offered encouragement, made him feel like his struggles mattered. And slowly, carefully, she shared pieces of her own life too. The pressure of managing a large foundation, the loneliness of living in a big house by herself, the way people treated her differently when they found out her last name. By the time Saturday arrived, Isaac felt like he had known Sophia for months instead of just over a week. They met at the entrance to the Christmas festival, and Emma immediately grabbed Sophia's hand, pulling her toward the ice skating rink. Isaac followed, carrying Emma's skates and trying not to stare at how beautiful Sophia looked in a red coat and white scarf, her cheeks pink from the cold. The festival was crowded, full of families and couples enjoying the holiday atmosphere. There were booths selling hot chocolate and roasted chestnuts, carolers singing on a small stage, and the ice rink was packed with skaters of varying abilities. Emma insisted they all skate together, and Isaac found himself lacing up rental skates for the first time in years. On the ice, Emma held both their hands, giggling as she wobbled between them. Isaac had not skated since before Rebecca died, but the muscle memory came back quickly. Sophia, to his surprise, was an excellent skater, gliding smoothly across the ice with Emma between them. "You're good at this," he observed. Sophia smiled. "Lessons as a kid. My mother insisted I learn all the proper activities: piano, ballet, ice skating, horseback riding. The full upper-class package." Do you resent it? She considered the question as they made another lap around the rink. Sometimes. It felt like a lot of pressure when I was young, but now I am grateful for some of it. The skating, for instance. This is fun. They skated for nearly an hour before Emma declared she was tired and hungry. They returned their skates and wandered through the festival, stopping at various booths. Isaac bought Emma a candy cane and some hot chocolate, and they watched a puppet show about Santa's elves that had Emma giggling throughout. As the afternoon wore on, Isaac found himself relaxing more and more. It felt natural, being here with Sophia, like they were a family instead of three separate people who had met by chance. And that realization both thrilled and terrified him. He was not sure he was ready for this, for whatever was happening between them. But he also was not sure he could stop it, even if he wanted to. They were watching Emma go through a small holiday maze made of hay bales when Sophia said quietly, "Isaac, can I be honest with you about something?" His stomach tightened with apprehension. "Sure." "When I met you, when you caught me on that bridge, I felt something I have not felt in a very long time. A connection, instant and real. And I know this might sound crazy because we barely know each other, but I have thought about you every day since then. About you and Emma, about how good it felt to be around people who just accepted me for who I am, not what I have or what my name can do for them." Isaac's heart was pounding. "Sophia, let me finish, please." She took a deep breath, her eyes still on Emma. "I like you, Isaac, I really like you. And I would very much like to explore where this might go, if you are open to that. But I need you to know that I understand how different our lives are. I know that my wealth and my background could make things complicated. If you are not interested, or if this is too much too fast, I will understand. We can just be friends if that is all you want, but I had to tell you how I feel, because I am tired of hiding and being afraid." Emma emerged from the maze, waving triumphantly, and Isaac waved back automatically. His mind was reeling. Sophia liked him. She had just put herself out there, laid her feelings bare, and now she was waiting for his response. He could play it safe, tell her that friendship was all he could offer, protect himself and Emma from potential hurt. Or he could be honest, take a risk, admit that he felt it too. "I like you too," he said quietly. "More than I probably should after knowing you for such a short time. You make me feel things I thought I had buried with my wife, and that scares the hell out of me if I am being honest. Because I have Emma to think about, and I cannot afford to make mistakes that might hurt her, but I would like to see where this goes too. If we can take it slow, figure things out as we go." Sophia turned to face him fully, her eyes shining. "Slow is good. Slow works for me." Emma ran up to them, breathless and happy. "Did you see me? I made it through super fast. We saw, honey. You were amazing," Isaac said, lifting her up and settling her on his hip even though she was really getting too big for it. She rested her head on his shoulder, tired from the day's excitement. "Can Miss Sophia come to our house sometime?" Emma asked. "I want to show her my room and my toys." Isaac and Sophia exchanged a glance, both of them smiling. "If she wants to," Isaac said. "I would love to," Sophia replied, reaching out to brush a strand of hair from Emma's face. The gesture was tender, intimate, and it made Isaac's breath catch. They made plans for the following week. A simple dinner at Isaac's small house, and when they parted ways in the parking lot, Sophia hugged Emma goodbye and then, more hesitantly, hugged Isaac too. He held her for just a moment, breathing in her scent, feeling the warmth of her body against his, and knew with absolute certainty that he was in trouble. The good kind of trouble, the kind that might just change everything. The week leading up to Sophia's visit to their house was a whirlwind of cleaning and preparation. Isaac scrubbed every surface until it shined, painfully aware of how small and modest his home would seem compared to Sophia's mansion. It was a 3-bedroom ranch house in a working-class neighborhood with worn carpet and a kitchen that had not been updated since the 80s. But it was clean and well-maintained, and it was theirs. Emma helped enthusiastically, dusting her toys and organizing her bookshelf. She talked nonstop about what she would show Sophia, what games they could play, what stories she would read to her. Her excitement was infectious, and Isaac found himself looking forward to Sophia's visit with an anticipation that was only partly anxiety. Wednesday evening arrived, and Isaac was stirring pasta sauce when the doorbell rang. Emma shrieked with excitement and ran to answer it, with Isaac close behind. Sophia stood on the porch holding a bottle of wine and a wrapped present, looking slightly nervous. "Hi," she said, smiling. "I hope I am not too early. You're perfect. Come in." Isaac stepped aside to let her enter, watching as she looked around the small living room. He saw his home through her eyes, the second-hand couch he had roof-upholstered himself, the discount store curtains, the television that was definitely not the latest model. But Sophia's expression showed no judgment, only curiosity and warmth. "I love it," she said sincerely. "It feels like a real home, lived in and loved." Emma grabbed her hand. "Come see my room. I cleaned everything." Sophia laughed and allowed herself to be dragged down the hallway while Isaac finished preparing dinner. He could hear Emma's voice chattering away, showing Sophia her treasures and Sophia's responses, genuinely interested and engaged. It made something warm bloom in his chest, pushing aside his earlier nervousness. Dinner was simple spaghetti with meat sauce, garlic bread, and a salad. They ate at the small kitchen table, Emma positioned between them like always. Sophia had brought the wrapped present for Emma, which turned out to be a beautiful illustrated book of fairy tales. Emma's eyes went wide with delight, and she immediately wanted Sophia to read her a story. After dinner, they settled on the living room couch, Emma nestled between them as Sophia read from the book in a dramatic voice that had Emma giggling. Isaac watched them together, struck by how natural it all felt, how right. Sophia's voice rose and fell with the story, and Emma listened raptly, occasionally interjecting with comments or questions. When the story was finished, Emma yawned widely. It was past her bedtime, and Isaac could see her fighting to keep her eyes open. "Time for bed, kiddo," he said gently. "But I want to stay up with Miss Sophia," Emma protested weakly. "I'll still be here tomorrow," Sophia promised. "We can talk on the phone, okay?" That seemed to satisfy Emma, and she allowed Isaac to lead her to her room for her bedtime routine. As he helped her into her pajamas and brushed her teeth, she said sleepily, "I really like Miss Sophia, Dad. Do you think she could be our friend forever?" "I hope so, honey," Isaac replied honestly. "Do you think?" Emma paused, then continued in a small voice. "Do you think Mom would like her?" The question hit Isaac like a punch to the gut. He and Emma had talked about Rebecca often over the years, keeping her memory alive, but Emma had never asked something quite like this before. He sat on the edge of her bed, choosing his words carefully. "I think your mom would love her, Emma. Because she makes us happy, and that is what your mom would want for us, to be happy." Emma nodded, satisfied with this answer, and curled up under her covers. Isaac kissed her forehead, turned on her nightlight, and quietly left the room, leaving the door cracked open the way she liked it. When he returned to the living room, Sophia was looking at the photographs on the mantel. There were pictures of Emma at various ages, some of Isaac from his younger days, and several of Rebecca. Sophia was studying one of Isaac and Rebecca on their wedding day, both of them young and laughing, completely unaware of what the future would hold. "She was beautiful," Sophia said softly as Isaac approached. "Yeah, she was, inside and out." Isaac stood beside her, looking at the photograph. "Emma has her eyes. You must miss her terribly. Every day, but it gets easier, you know. The grief is still there, but it's not as sharp. I can think about her now and smile more than I hurt." Sophia turned to face him. "Can I ask what happened? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to." Isaac took a breath. He had not talked about this with anyone outside of family in a long time, but he found he wanted Sophia to know. "She had appendicitis. We thought it was just a stomach bug, but by the time we realized it was serious, the appendix had burst. She went into surgery and there were complications. An infection set in and she did not make it. It all happened so fast. One day she was fine, making breakfast and laughing at Emma's jokes, and 3 days later she was gone. Sophia's hand found his, her fingers intertwining with his own. "I am so sorry, Isaac." "Thank you, and I am sorry about your parents. You mentioned they passed away." Sophia nodded, her grip on his hand tightening slightly. "Car accident 2 years ago." They were driving home from a charity event, and a drunk driver ran a red light. They both died instantly. At least they did not suffer, but it was still a shock. One phone call, and suddenly I was an orphan at 26, responsible for everything they had built. That must have been overwhelming. It was. Still is sometimes, but I have good people helping me with the foundation, and I have learned to carry the weight. It is what they would have wanted. They stood there for a moment, hands joined, each lost in their own memories of loss. Then Sophia said quietly, "We're quite a pair, aren't we? Both trying to figure out how to move forward after losing the people we loved most." "Yeah," Isaac agreed, "but maybe that's why this feels so right. We understand each other." Sophia looked up at him, her green eyes searching his face. "It does feel right, doesn't it? I was worried I was imagining it, that it was just wishful thinking. But every time I am with you, every conversation we have, every moment we share, I feel more certain." Isaac's heart was pounding. They were standing very close now, close enough that he could count the freckles scattered across her nose, close enough to feel the warmth radiating from her body. He knew he should step back, maintain some distance, but he found he did not want to. "Sophia," he said, his voice rough. "I need to be honest with you about something." "Okay," she whispered. "I have not felt this way about anyone since Rebecca, and it scares me because I do not want to rush into something just because I am lonely or because it has been so long. Emma has to be my priority always. But when I am with you, it does not feel like I am just filling a void. It feels like the start of something new, something real, and I want to explore that, but I need you to understand that we have to take this one step at a time." "I understand," Sophia said. "And I want you to know that I would never do anything to hurt Emma. Or you. I know how precious what we are building is, and I want to protect it too. We can go as slow as you need." Isaac lifted his free hand and gently cupped her cheek, his thumb brushing across her skin. Sophia leaned into the touch, her eyes fluttering closed for a moment. When she opened them again, the emotion in them took his breath away. "Can I kiss you?" he asked quietly. "I wish you would," she replied. Isaac leaned in slowly, giving her plenty of time to change her mind, but Sophia met him halfway. Their lips touched gently at first, tentative, learning. Then Sophia's free hand came up to rest on his chest, and the kiss deepened. It was sweet and tender and full of promise, and when they finally pulled apart, both of them were breathing harder. "Wow," Sophia breathed. "Yeah," Isaac agreed, his forehead resting against hers. "Wow." They stood like that for a long moment, just holding each other, neither wanting to break the spell. Eventually, Sophia pulled back slightly, a shy smile on her face. "I should probably go. It's getting late and you have work tomorrow." "Probably," Isaac agreed reluctantly. He walked her to the door, their hands still linked. On the porch, Sophia turned back and kissed him again, quick and sweet. "Text me when you get home," he asked. She smiled. "I will. Good night, Isaac." "Good night, Sophia." He watched from the doorway until her car disappeared around the corner, then closed the door and leaned against it, a smile he could not suppress spreading across his face. In her room, Emma was fast asleep, dreaming whatever dreams 6-year-olds had. And for the first time in 3 years, Isaac allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, happiness was possible again. The next few weeks passed in a blur of growing closeness. Sophia became a regular presence in their lives, joining them for Emma's soccer games, coming over for simple dinners, including them in her own activities. She took them to a museum one Saturday, an art exhibition that Emma found fascinating. She helped Emma with a school project about family trees, gently navigating the complicated emotions when Emma wanted to include her mother. She brought coffee to Isaac's construction sites when she knew he was having a tough day. And slowly, carefully, Isaac and Sophia grew closer. They stole moments alone when Emma was with her grandmother or busy with activities. Coffee dates that turned into long conversations, walks through the park where they had first met, quiet evenings on Isaac's couch after Emma was in bed. They talked about everything: their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. Isaac learned that Sophia had always wanted children but had not met the right person before her parents died. And after that, she had been too consumed with grief and responsibility to think about dating. Sophia learned about Isaac's fears that he was not enough for Emma, that he could not give her everything she deserved, that he was failing at being both mother and father. "You're not failing," Sophia told him one evening as they sat on his porch, watching the stars emerge in the darkening sky. "Emma is happy and healthy and loved. That's what matters. Not the size of your house or how much money you have. You're giving her everything that's truly important." "But I worry," Isaac admitted. "About things like college funds and braces if she needs them, and all the stuff that costs money I do not always have." Sophia was quiet for a moment, then said carefully, "Isaac, I want to say something, and I need you to hear me out before you react, okay?" His stomach tightened with apprehension. "Okay. I have a lot of money, more than I could ever spend in my lifetime, and one of the things I do with the foundation is help families who need it. College scholarships, medical expenses, that sort of thing. If you ever need help with anything, I hope you know you can ask me, not because of what's happening between us, but because I care about you and Emma. Both of you." Isaac felt a surge of complicated emotions: pride, embarrassment, gratitude, discomfort. "Sophia, I appreciate that, really. But I need to take care of my daughter. It's my responsibility." "I know, and I am not trying to take that away from you. I'm just saying the offer is there if you ever need it. No strings attached, no judgment. Just someone who cares about you wanting to help." Isaac nodded slowly. He understood what she was saying, and part of him was deeply touched by the gesture. But another part of him bristled at the idea of accepting charity, even from someone he was falling in love with. Because he was falling in love with her that much, he could no longer deny. It was there in the way his heart lifted when he saw her name on his phone, in the way he looked forward to their time together more than anything else in his week, in the way Emma had started asking when Miss Sophia was coming over next. "Thank you," he said finally. "I'll keep that in mind." Sophia seemed to understand that was all he could offer right now, and she let the subject drop. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, her head resting on his shoulder, his arm around her waist. It felt natural and right, like they had been doing this for years instead of weeks. As Christmas approached, Isaac found himself in a dilemma. He wanted to get Sophia a gift, something meaningful, but he had no idea what to get a woman who literally had everything. He could not afford jewelry or expensive items, and anything he could afford would seem pitiful compared to what she was used to. He was still puzzling over it when Sophia brought it up first. "Can we talk about Christmas?" she asked one evening when she had come over for dinner. "Sure," Isaac said, though he felt a flutter of nervousness. "I was wondering if you and Emma would like to spend Christmas Day with me. I know you probably have traditions and plans, but I thought maybe we could start a new tradition together. Nothing fancy, just the three of us." Isaac looked at Emma, who was practically bouncing in her seat. "Can we, Dad? Please?" He had been planning to spend Christmas Day with Emma, just the two of them like they had done for the past 3 years. They would open presents in the morning, have a special breakfast, maybe drive around looking at Christmas lights in the evening. It was simple, but it was theirs. But the hope in both Emma's and Sophia's eyes made the decision for him. "I think that sounds great," he said. "But only if you come here for Christmas Eve. We always watch the Polar Express and drink hot chocolate. I want you to be part of that." Sophia's smile could have lit up the entire city. "Deal." Christmas Eve arrived with a light snow falling, coating everything in a pristine white blanket. Emma was beside herself with excitement, having been promised that she could stay up a little later than usual. Sophia arrived at 7 with bags of presents and homemade cookies shaped like snowflakes and stars. They watched the movie curled up on the couch together, Emma between them wrapped in her favorite blanket. Isaac had his arm around Sophia's shoulders, and she leaned into him, her hand resting on his knee. It felt like the most natural thing in the world, like they were a real family. When the movie ended, Emma's eyes were drooping despite her best efforts to stay awake. "Time for bed, sweetheart," Isaac said gently. "But I want to stay up and talk to Miss Sophia," Emma protested through a yawn. "I'll be here tomorrow," Sophia promised. "And Santa won't come if you're still awake." That did the trick, and Emma allowed herself to be led to bed. Sophia came too, helping with the bedtime routine in a way that felt remarkably natural. She sat on the edge of Emma's bed while Isaac tucked her in, and Emma looked at both of them with sleepy contentment. "This was the best Christmas Eve ever," Emma murmured. "I love you both." Isaac's heart clenched. Emma had not said those words about anyone outside of family since her mother died. He glanced at Sophia and saw tears shining in her eyes. "We love you too, sweetheart," Sophia said softly, leaning down to kiss Emma's forehead. "Sleep well." Back in the living room, after Emma's door was safely closed, Isaac pulled Sophia into his arms. "She loves you," he said quietly. "And so do I." Sophia pulled back to look at him, her eyes wide. "You love me?" "Yeah, I do. I know we said we would take things slow, and I am not asking for anything or expecting anything. I just needed you to know. You've become so important to me, and I love you, Sophia Morrison." Tears spilled down Sophia's cheeks, but she was smiling. "I love you too, Isaac Dawson. I have for a while now. I just was not sure if I should say it." They kissed then, deep and tender and full of emotion. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were smiling like fools. They spent the next hour arranging presents under the small tree, adding Sophia's contributions to Isaac's more modest gifts. She had clearly spent a considerable amount on Emma, and Isaac felt that familiar discomfort warring with gratitude. "Sophia, this is too much," he said, looking at the pile of beautifully wrapped packages. "It's not too much if it comes from love," she replied firmly. "Please, Isaac, let me do this. Emma has given me so much joy these past few weeks. Let me give something back." Isaac nodded, swallowing his pride because he could see how much this meant to Sophia. "Thank you. But next year we set a budget." "Deal." "Deal," she agreed, and the fact that they were already talking about next year made Isaac's heart soar. They talked for a while longer, drinking wine and sharing their own Christmas memories from childhood. Sophia told him about elaborate family gatherings in the big house, with dozens of relatives and catered meals. Isaac told her about simpler celebrations with his parents and sister, full of laughter and homemade food. Different worlds, different experiences, but both precious in their own way. Around midnight, Sophia reluctantly said she should go home. "I want to come back early, though, if that's okay." "I do not want to miss Emma opening her presents." "How about you just stay?" The words were out of Isaac's mouth before he had fully thought them through. "You can sleep in the guest room. That way you're here when Emma wakes up, and we can all have breakfast together." Sophia looked surprised, then pleased. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. We're doing this together now, right? All of it." "All of it," Sophia agreed. Isaac showed her to the guest room, which was small but clean, mostly used for storage. He dug out fresh sheets and towels, feeling slightly embarrassed about the shabby state of everything compared to what Sophia was used to. But she just smiled and thanked him, kissing him goodnight at the door. "Merry Christmas, Isaac," she whispered. "Merry Christmas, Sophia." Emma woke them at 6:30, bursting into Isaac's room with the unstoppable energy of a 6-year-old on Christmas morning. "Dad, Santa came. There are so many presents." Isaac groggily pulled on a robe and followed his daughter to the living room, where she was already examining the presents with wide eyes. A moment later, Sophia appeared from the guest room, looking adorably rumpled in borrowed pajamas. "Miss Sophia, you stayed," Emma shrieked with delight. I did. I wanted to spend Christmas morning with my favorite people. They opened presents together, Emma squealing with delight over each gift. There were books and toys and art supplies, practical things like new winter clothes mixed with special treats. Emma insisted that Isaac and Sophia open their gifts too. Isaac had gotten Sophia a small necklace with a delicate snowflake pendant, nothing expensive but chosen with care. Her eyes filled with tears when she opened it. "It's perfect," she said, immediately putting it on. "I love it, Isaac." Sophia's gift to Isaac was a high-quality tool set, professional grade, the kind he had admired in stores but could never justify buying. "I know you like to do projects around the house," she explained, "and I asked your foreman what you needed. I hope that is okay." Isaac was speechless. The thoughtfulness of the gift, the fact that she had gone to the effort of asking his colleague what would be useful, touched him deeply. "It's more than okay. Thank you, Sophia. This is incredibly generous." They had a simple breakfast of pancakes and bacon, Emma still clutching her favorite new toy, a dollhouse that she had been wanting for months. After breakfast, they drove to Sophia's house, where she had prepared a Christmas dinner that looked like something from a magazine. The day passed in a warm, happy blur. They played games, watched Christmas movies, ate too much good food. Emma fell asleep on the couch in the afternoon, and Isaac and Sophia sat together, watching her sleep, his arm around Sophia and her head on his shoulder. "This is the best Christmas I have had in years," Sophia said quietly. "Maybe ever. Thank you for sharing your family with me." "You're not just sharing our family," Isaac replied, tilting her chin up so he could look into her eyes. "You're part of it now, if you want to be." "I want to be," Sophia whispered. "More than anything." They kissed, soft and sweet, careful not to wake Emma, and in that moment, Isaac knew with absolute certainty that he was going to marry this woman. Maybe not today, maybe not even this year, but someday. He was going to make Sophia Morrison his wife, and they were going to build a life together, the three of them. The weeks after Christmas settled into a comfortable rhythm. Sophia spent more and more time at Isaac's house, to the point where she kept clothes there and had her own toothbrush in the bathroom. Emma started calling her Aunt Sophia without prompting, and neither Isaac nor Sophia corrected her, though they exchanged meaningful looks every time she said it. In February, on a cold Saturday morning, Isaac took Emma to her grandmother's house for the day. He had something important planned, and he needed time alone with Sophia to do it. He picked her up and drove to the park where they had first met, now covered in snow and beautiful in the winter sunlight. "Why are we here?" Sophia asked as they walked toward the bridge where she had slipped all those weeks ago. "Because this is where it all started," Isaac said. His heart was pounding, and his palms were sweaty despite the cold. "This is where I caught you, literally, and I need to tell you something." They stood on the bridge, the same spot where they had first touched. Isaac took both of Sophia's hands in his, looking into her beautiful green eyes. "These past few months have been the happiest of my life since Rebecca died. You have brought light and laughter and love back into our lives, mine and Emma's. You have been patient with my stubbornness, generous with your time and your heart, and you have loved my daughter like she was your own. And I know we have not been together very long, and I know we said we would take things slow, but I also know what I want. And what I want is you, Sophia, for the rest of my life." Isaac released one of her hands and reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box. Sophia's eyes went wide, tears already starting to fall. "I cannot afford a huge diamond. This ring belonged to my grandmother, and it is the most precious thing I own. But if you will have it, if you will have me and Emma, I promise to love you and cherish you every single day for the rest of our lives. Sophia Morrison, will you marry me?" He opened the box, revealing a simple gold band with a small diamond that had belonged to his grandmother. It was not flashy or expensive, but it was beautiful in its simplicity. Sophia was crying openly now, but she was also smiling the biggest smile he had ever seen. "Yes," she said through her tears. "Yes, yes, yes, I will marry you, Isaac Dawson. Nothing would make me happier." Isaac slipped the ring onto her finger, and it fit perfectly. Then he pulled her into his arms and kissed her, pouring all his love and hope and joy into that kiss. Around them, a few other park visitors clapped and cheered, but Isaac barely noticed. All he could focus on was the woman in his arms, the woman who was going to be his wife. When they finally pulled apart, Sophia was laughing and crying at the same time. "I cannot believe this is real. I feel like I am in a dream." "It's real," Isaac assured her, "and I cannot wait to tell Emma. She's going to be thrilled. Can we tell her together? Right now," Isaac grinned. "Let's go get our daughter." They drove to his mother's house, barely able to contain their excitement. When they walked in and Emma saw the ring on Sophia's finger, she knew immediately what it meant. "You are getting married," she squealed. "Does that mean Miss Sophia will be my new mom?" Isaac and Sophia exchanged a glance, then Isaac knelt down to Emma's level. "Well, honey, Sophia will be your stepmother. Your real mom will always be your mom, and we will always remember her and love her. But Sophia will be part of our family, and she will love you just as much. Is that okay with you?" Emma threw her arms around both of them. "It is more than okay. It is perfect." Isaac's mother came out of the kitchen, took one look at the scene, and burst into tears of joy. She had been encouraging Isaac to move on for over a year, worried about him being alone, and she had taken to Sophia immediately. "Oh, my dear boy," she said, pulling Isaac into a tight hug. "I am so happy for you. Your father would be too." The next few months were a whirlwind of wedding planning. Sophia wanted something intimate and meaningful, not a big society wedding. They decided on a ceremony in early May, in the gardens behind Sophia's house, with just close friends and family. Emma would be the flower girl, of course, and she took her duties very seriously, practicing her walk down the aisle at every opportunity. There were challenges, of course. Sophia insisted on helping Isaac with some of his financial burdens, now that they were getting married, and while he appreciated it, it was still hard for his pride to accept. They had long conversations about money and expectations, about how to blend their very different backgrounds and lifestyles. Isaac worried about Emma adapting to a wealthier lifestyle, about her becoming spoiled or losing touch with the values he had worked hard to instill. Sophia worried about Isaac feeling like he was being taken care of rather than being an equal partner. But they worked through it, talking and compromising and always putting Emma first. They decided they would live primarily at Isaac's house during the week, maintaining the routine that was comfortable for Emma, but spend weekends at Sophia's larger home, giving Emma more space to play and explore. Sophia set up a college fund for Emma, which Isaac finally accepted after Sophia pointed out that she would be Emma's stepmother, and it was what any parent would do. The wedding day arrived with perfect spring weather. The garden was transformed into a fairy tale setting, with white chairs arranged in neat rows, flowers everywhere, and an arch covered in roses where they would exchange their vows. Emma wore a beautiful white dress and carried a basket of rose petals, taking her role very seriously. Isaac stood at the altar, his hands sweating, his heart pounding, watching the small gathering of loved ones take their seats. His mother was in the front row, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. His sister sat beside her with her family. Emma stood next to him, beaming with pride. Then the music started, and Sophia appeared at the end of the aisle. She wore a simple white dress that fell to her knees, elegant and understated, with her hair swept up, and the snowflake necklace Isaac had given her at Christmas around her neck. She carried a small bouquet of wildflowers, and she looked so beautiful that Isaac felt tears prick his eyes. She walked toward him slowly, her eyes locked on his, and when she reached the altar, she took his hands and smiled. "Hi," she whispered. "Hi," he whispered back. The ceremony was short and sweet, exactly what they wanted. They exchanged vows they had written themselves, promises of love and partnership and family. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Isaac kissed Sophia with all the love in his heart, and their small gathering erupted in applause. Emma hugged them both, squealing with delight. "I have a new mom," she announced to anyone who would listen. The reception was held in Sophia's house, with a catered meal and a small cake. There was no formal dancing or speeches, just good food and laughter, and the joy of being surrounded by people who loved them. As the evening wore on, Isaac found himself standing on the patio, watching through the windows as Sophia played a game with Emma and some of the other children who had come. His mother came to stand beside him. "She's wonderful, Isaac. I am so happy you found her." "Me too, Mom. I never thought I would feel this way again after Rebecca. But Sophia, she is special. Rebecca would approve, you know. She would want you to be happy, to have a partner to share your life with." Isaac nodded, feeling the truth of those words deep in his soul. Rebecca had loved him, and she would have wanted him to find love again, to give Emma a mother figure, to not spend the rest of his life alone. "I think she would like Sophia. They have a lot in common, actually. Both strong, both compassionate, both willing to love Emma with their whole hearts." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, then Isaac went back inside to claim his wife for a dance. Sophia came into his arms easily, and they swayed together to soft music playing from a speaker. "Happy," he murmured into her hair. "Happier than I knew was possible," she replied. "Thank you for catching me, Isaac, both literally and figuratively." "Best catch I ever made," he said, and kissed her softly. The first year of marriage was an adjustment, but a beautiful one. They navigated the challenges of blending their lives with patience and humor. Sophia cut back on her hours at the foundation to spend more time with Emma, picking her up from school, helping with homework, attending soccer games. Isaac learned to accept Sophia's help without feeling like he was being diminished, understanding that marriage was about partnership and sharing burdens. Emma thrived with the attention and love from both of them. She still had moments where she missed her mother, and both Isaac and Sophia made sure to honor Rebecca's memory, keeping her photos around the house, sharing stories about her with Emma. But Emma also bonded deeply with Sophia, calling her Mom by the end of their first year together. On their first anniversary, Sophia had a surprise for Isaac. They were having a quiet dinner at home, Emma already in bed, when Sophia handed him a small, wrapped box. "What's this?" he asked, confused. They had agreed not to exchange gifts, to just enjoy a nice dinner together. "Open it," Sophia urged, bouncing slightly in her seat with barely contained excitement. Isaac unwrapped the box to find a tiny pair of baby booties inside. He stared at them for a long moment, his brain not quite processing what he was seeing. Then understanding dawned, and his head snapped up to look at Sophia. "Are you?" Sophia was grinning and crying at the same time. "I'm pregnant. We are going to have a baby." Isaac stood so quickly his chair fell over, but he did not care. He crossed to Sophia and pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "A baby, we are having a baby." "Are you happy?" Sophia asked, though she was laughing through her tears. "Happy does not even begin to cover it," Isaac said, kissing her soundly. "This is incredible, amazing." "When?" "About 7 months. I just found out yesterday, but I wanted to tell you on our anniversary." They told Emma the next morning, and her reaction was priceless. "A baby brother or sister," she shouted. "Really? For real?" "For real," Sophia confirmed. "What do you think about that?" Emma threw her arms around Sophia's still flat stomach. "I think it's the best news ever. I am going to be the best big sister in the whole world." The pregnancy progressed smoothly, and the family prepared for the new arrival with excitement. They converted the guest room at Isaac's house into a nursery, painting it a soft yellow since they wanted to be surprised about the gender. Emma helped pick out baby clothes and toys, taking her role as big sister very seriously. In late summer, on a hot August night, Sophia went into labor. Isaac drove her to the hospital with Emma staying with his mother, and after 12 hours of labor, Sophia gave birth to a healthy baby boy. They named him Michael, after Isaac's father, and when Isaac held his son for the first time, he felt his heart expand in a way he had not known was possible. Emma came to visit the next day, peering into the bassinet with wide eyes. "He's so tiny," she whispered in awe. "You were this tiny once," Isaac told her. "And now look at you, a big 7-year-old. Can I hold him?" Emma asked. Sophia, tired but glowing, nodded. "Of course, sweetie. Sit in that chair and I will help you." They settled Emma in the chair with Michael carefully placed in her arms, and Isaac snapped a photo of his 2 children together, his heart so full he thought it might burst. This was his family. Emma, the daughter of his heart from his first love. Michael, the son he would raise with his second love. And Sophia, the woman who had brought light back into his life when he thought he would live in darkness forever. They brought Michael home 2 days later, and life became beautifully chaotic. Sleepless nights, endless diaper changes, the constant demands of a newborn. But through it all, there was love. Sophia and Isaac worked as a team, supporting each other through the exhaustion. Emma was a devoted big sister, always wanting to help, to hold the baby, to show him her toys even though he was too young to appreciate them. The years that followed were filled with the typical joys and challenges of family life. Emma grew from a little girl into a confident young woman, excelling in school and sports, always looking out for her little brother. Michael grew from an infant into a rambunctious toddler and then a curious young boy. They celebrated birthdays and holidays, weathered illnesses and scraped knees, supported each other through tough times. Isaac's construction business grew, and eventually he started his own small company with Sophia's encouragement and support. It was successful enough that they were comfortable, not wealthy like Sophia, but no longer struggling. Isaac felt a deep pride in what he had built, in being able to provide for his family through his own hard work. Sophia continued her work with the foundation. Focusing on causes that helped families like Isaac's had been scholarships for struggling students, medical assistance for those without insurance, support for single parents. She found deep fulfillment in using her resources to make a real difference in people's lives. 10 years after that fateful day in the park, Isaac found himself once again standing on the bridge where he had first caught Sophia. It was a cold December evening, and the park was decorated for Christmas, just like it had been that night. But this time, he was not alone. Sophia stood beside him, her hand in his, still wearing the snowflake necklace he had given her that first Christmas. Emma, now 16 and beautiful, stood with them along with Michael, now 9 and full of energy. "Why did you want to come here, Dad?" Emma asked. Isaac smiled and pulled Sophia close. "Because this is where it all started. 10 years ago today, I caught your mother when she slipped on this bridge, and that one moment changed all of our lives. Best slip I ever took," Sophia said with a laugh, leaning into him. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if Dad had not caught you?" Michael asked. "All the time," Sophia admitted. "I might have fallen and hurt myself, or I might have caught my balance and walked away, and we never would have met. Either way, I would not have this incredible family, so I am very grateful your father has good reflexes." Emma hugged them both. "I am grateful, too. I know I cannot remember Mom very well anymore, but I know she would be happy that we found each other, that we are happy." Isaac felt tears prick his eyes. Emma rarely talked about Rebecca anymore, the memories fading with time, but when she did, it was always with love and respect. "She would be happy, honey. She would love Sophia, and she would love Michael, and she would be so proud of the young woman you have become." They stood there for a while longer, the 4 of them, looking at the Christmas lights reflected in the icy stream below. Then Michael tugged on Isaac's coat. "Can we go get hot chocolate now? I am freezing." They all laughed and walked back toward the parking lot, Isaac with his arm around Sophia, Emma and Michael running ahead. As they reached the car, Sophia stopped and turned to Isaac, pulling him down for a kiss. "I love you, Isaac Dawson," she said softly. "Thank you for catching me." "I love you too, Sophia Dawson," he replied. "And I will catch you every single time." They drove home together, the car filled with laughter and chatter, the radio playing Christmas music. And as Isaac glanced in the rearview mirror at his children, and then over at his wife, he felt a profound sense of gratitude and peace. He had known great loss in his life, pain that had nearly broken him. But he had also known great love, the kind that healed and transformed and made everything worthwhile. That night, after the kids were in bed, Isaac and Sophia sat together on the couch in front of the fireplace, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her waist. It was their favorite spot, the place where they had so many important conversations over the years. "Do you ever regret it?" Isaac asked quietly. "Marrying me, taking on a ready-made family, all of it?" Sophia lifted her head to look at him, her green eyes fierce. "Never. Not for one single second. You and Emma and Michael are the best thing that ever happened to me. I was so lonely before I met you, Isaac. I had money and status and all the things people think make you happy. But I did not have love, real love. And now I have it in abundance." "How could I ever regret that?" Isaac kissed her, pouring all his love into it, all his gratitude for this second chance at happiness. When they pulled apart, Sophia settled back against him with a contented sigh. "Besides," she added with a mischievous smile, "I got exactly what I wanted that day in the park." "What do you mean?" "I mean, I noticed you before you caught me. I saw you walking with Emma, saw how loving and attentive you were, saw what a good father you were. And I thought to myself, now there is a man worth knowing. So when I started to slip, maybe I didn't try quite as hard as I could have to catch myself." Isaac sat up straight, staring at her in shock. "Are you saying you slipped on purpose?" Sophia's smile turned into a full laugh. "Not exactly on purpose. The ice was real, and I really was slipping. But I maybe could have caught myself against the railing if I had tried. Instead, I let myself fall, hoping you would be the kind of man who would help. And you are my hero in every sense of the word." Isaac shook his head in amazement. "You are something else, you know that." "I know," Sophia said smugly, "and you love me for it." "I really do," Isaac agreed, "more than I can ever say." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the flames dance in the fireplace. Then Sophia said, "Do you think Emma suspects anything about her birthday party?" Emma's 17th birthday was coming up in a few weeks, and they had been planning a surprise party. "No, I think we have managed to keep it secret, though it is not easy to surprise a teenager. Michael has been good about not spilling the beans," Sophia observed. "I think he is learning discretion. Or he knows I will ground him if he ruins his sister's surprise," Isaac said with a grin. They talked for a while longer, making final plans for the party, discussing Michael's upcoming soccer tournament, touching on all the small details that made up their life together. Eventually, they made their way to bed, tired but content. As Isaac drifted off to sleep with Sophia in his arms, he thought about the journey that had brought them here. From that cold December night in the park to this moment, so much had changed. He had gone from a struggling single father, barely holding things together, to a successful business owner with a beautiful family and more love than he had ever thought possible. Life was not perfect. There were still challenges, still moments of stress and worry. His business had its ups and downs, the kids had their struggles, bills still needed to be paid. But they faced it all together, as a team, as a family, and that made all the difference. The morning of Emma's birthday party arrived with the controlled chaos that came with trying to keep a surprise from a perceptive teenager. They had told Emma they were just having a quiet family dinner, but in reality, Sophia had arranged for all of Emma's friends and extended family to gather at their house. Isaac's job was to keep Emma out of the house for most of the afternoon while Sophia and Michael set everything up. He took Emma to lunch at her favorite restaurant, then suggested they go shopping for a new outfit for her upcoming school dance. Emma, always suspicious of her father's sudden interest in clothes shopping, eyed him warily. "What is going on, Dad? You hate shopping." "Can not a father want to spend time with his daughter on her birthday?" Isaac asked innocently. "Sure, but you are being weird about it, all jumpy and nervous." Isaac had to laugh. His daughter knew him too well. "Fine, you caught me. But I am not telling you anything, so you will just have to wait and see." When they finally returned home around 5, the house was dark and quiet. Emma gave Isaac a confused look as they walked up to the door. "Why are all the lights off?" Before Isaac could answer, they opened the door and the lights blazed on. "Surprise!" shouted a crowd of people, and Emma actually jumped backward in shock. Her friends were there, along with Isaac's mother and sister's family, some of Sophia's relatives, and several teachers from Emma's school who had become family friends over the years. The house was decorated with balloons and streamers, and a table groaned under the weight of food and a huge birthday cake. Emma's eyes filled with tears, but she was grinning from ear to ear. "You guys, I cannot believe you pulled this off." Sophia came forward and hugged Emma tight. "Happy birthday, sweetie. I hope you do not mind that we deceived you a little bit." "Mind, this is amazing." Emma hugged both her parents, then was swept up by her friends, all of them talking and laughing at once. The party was a huge success. There was good food, good music, and the house was filled with laughter and joy. Isaac stood in the kitchen at one point, just watching it all, and felt that familiar surge of gratitude. This was what life was about. These moments of connection and love, of family and friends gathered together to celebrate. Sophia appeared at his side, slipping her hand into his. "What are you thinking about?" "Just how lucky I am," Isaac said simply. "How lucky we all are." "We really are," Sophia agreed. "Sometimes I still cannot believe this is my life, that I get to be part of this incredible family." Later, after the guests had left and Michael had been tucked into bed, Emma came to find her parents in the living room. She sat between them on the couch, still wearing her party hat, looking suddenly serious. "I want to tell you something," she said. "I know I was young when Mom died, and I do not remember her as well as I wish I did, but I remember how sad you were, Dad. How hard you tried to be strong for me even though you were hurting so much." Isaac felt his throat tighten. "Emma, let me finish," she said gently. "When Sophia came into our lives, I saw you start to heal. I saw you smile again, really smile, not just the fake smile you gave me when you were trying to pretend everything was okay. And Sophia, you have been the most amazing mom I could have asked for. You have never tried to replace my birth mom, but you have loved me like I was yours from day one. And I just want you both to know how grateful I am for this family, for this life. I love you both so much." By the time Emma finished, all three of them were crying. They hugged, holding each other tight, and Isaac felt like his heart might burst from the fullness of it. This beautiful, compassionate, wonderful young woman was his daughter, and he was so incredibly proud of the person she was becoming. "We love you too, Emma," Sophia said, her voice thick with emotion. "So very much. Being your mother is one of the greatest joys of my life." "You are an amazing young woman, Emma," Isaac added. "Your mother, your birth mother, would be so proud of you, and I am proud of you every single day." They sat together for a while longer, talking and laughing and wiping away tears. Eventually, Emma went to bed, exhausted from the day's excitement, and Isaac and Sophia were left alone again. "She's going to be okay," Sophia said softly. "More than okay, she is going to do amazing things with her life." "Yeah, she is," Isaac agreed. "Thanks in large part to you." "To us," Sophia corrected. "We are a team, remember? Always," Isaac promised. The years continued to roll by, marked by the milestones of family life. Emma graduated from high school with honors and went off to college to study education, wanting to be a teacher like the ones who had made such a difference in her life. Michael grew from a boy into a teenager, developing his own interests and personality. Isaac's business continued to thrive, and he even hired Emma part-time during her summer breaks, teaching her the trade. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Sophia planned a surprise for Isaac. She arranged for the kids to stay with Isaac's mother for the weekend and took him back to the park where they had met. But this time, instead of just standing on the bridge, she led him to a small clearing where a park bench had been installed. On a plaque on the bench was inscribed, "For Isaac and Sophia, whose love story began here, May all who sit here find the same joy and hope." Isaac stared at the plaque, then at Sophia, who was watching him with anxious anticipation. "You did this." "I donated it through the foundation," she explained. "I wanted to commemorate this place, this moment that changed our lives. Is it too much?" Isaac pulled her into his arms, kissing her deeply. "It's perfect. You are perfect." They sat on the bench together, watching the sun set over the frozen stream, their hands linked. It was December again, almost exactly 10 years from the day they met, and the park was decorated just like it had been that night. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Sophia asked. "If you had not caught me, if I had just walked away?" "All the time," Isaac admitted. "But then I remind myself that I did catch you, and you did not walk away, and we built this beautiful life together. That's what matters." "I want to tell you something," Sophia said, turning to face him. "Something I have never told you before." Isaac felt a flutter of nervousness. "Okay. Before I met you, I was not just lonely, I was contemplating leaving this city altogether. I thought about selling the house, leaving the foundation in other people's hands, starting over somewhere new where I was not just the Morrison heir, but could be my own person. That day in the park, I had gone there to think, to try to decide what to do with my life." Isaac's eyebrows rose. "I never knew that." "I know. Because after I met you, everything changed. Suddenly, I had a reason to stay, something worth building toward. You and Emma gave my life purpose and meaning in a way nothing else ever had. So when I say you saved me, I am not just talking about catching me when I slipped. You saved my whole life, Isaac. You gave me hope when I had none left." Isaac felt tears pricking his eyes. "You saved me too, Sophia. I was just going through the motions before I met you, surviving but not really living. You showed me that it was okay to love again, to be happy again, to have a future that was more than just getting through each day." They kissed, long and tender, there on the bench that commemorated their beginning. And Isaac knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together. They had built something strong and true, founded on love and respect and mutual support. It was not always easy, but it was always worth it. When they finally left the park that night, driving home to their children and their life together, Isaac felt a profound sense of peace. He had loved and lost, struggled and overcome, and found love again when he least expected it. His life had not turned out the way he had once planned, but it had turned out exactly as it was meant to be. Years later, standing in the crowd at Emma's college graduation, watching his daughter accept her diploma with pride and joy, Isaac felt Sophia's hand slip into his. Michael stood on his other side, now a tall teenager himself, clapping enthusiastically for his sister. This was his family, built through chance and choice, through loss and love, through every small decision and moment that had led them here. Emma found them after the ceremony, her face glowing with happiness. "I did it," she exclaimed, hugging them all. "We are so proud of you, honey," Isaac said, his voice rough with emotion. "I could not have done it without all of you," Emma said. "You have supported me every step of the way." That evening, they celebrated with a big family dinner at Sophia's house, which had become the gathering place for special occasions. Isaac's mother was there, growing older but still sharp and engaged. His sister's family, Emma's boyfriend, who seemed like a nice young man, Michael's best friends. The house was full of noise and laughter, exactly how it should be. As Isaac looked around the table at all these people he loved, he was struck by how full his life had become. From that lonely, struggling single father he had been 10 years ago to this man surrounded by family and friends, the transformation was remarkable. And it had all started with a simple act of kindness, catching a falling woman on a cold December night. Sophia caught his eye from across the table and smiled, and in that smile, Isaac saw their entire history together. The nervous first dates, the moment he knew he loved her, their wedding day, bringing Michael home from the hospital, all the little moments and big milestones that made up a life shared. And he saw their future too, growing old together, watching their children build their own lives, maybe even grandchildren someday. After dinner, as people were saying their goodbyes, Emma pulled Isaac aside. "Dad, I need to tell you something." "What is it, honey?" "I met with Mom today." I went to visit Mom's grave." Isaac felt his heart clench. Emma did not visit Rebecca's grave often, finding it too painful, but when she did, it was always significant. "How are you feeling about that?" "Good, actually. I told her about graduating, about my plans to be a teacher. And I told her about Sophia, about our family, about Michael. I wanted her to know that we are okay, that we are happy, and I think she would be glad, Dad. I really do." Isaac pulled Emma into a tight hug. "I think she would be too, sweetheart. She loved you so much, and all she ever wanted was for you to be happy and loved, and you are both those things. Thanks, Dad, for everything, for being strong enough to love again, for letting Sophia into our lives, for giving me a brother and a whole new family. I know it was not always easy for you. You are worth every difficulty, Emma, every single one." Later that night, after everyone had left and Michael was in bed, Isaac and Sophia sat together on their favorite spot on the couch. It had been a long, emotional day, and they were both exhausted but content. "Do you think she is really okay?" Sophia asked, referring to Emma. "Visiting Rebecca's grave today must have brought up a lot of emotions." "I think she is," Isaac said thoughtfully. "She is finding her own way to honor both her mothers, to carry the past with her while moving forward into her future. That is all we can ask for." "She is remarkable, your daughter." "Our daughter," Sophia corrected herself with a small smile. "Our daughter," Isaac agreed. "And she is remarkable partly because of you, Sophia. You have been exactly the mother she needed." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, just being together. After all these years, they had learned that the best moments were not always the big celebrations or dramatic gestures, but these quiet times of simple companionship. "Isaac," Sophia said eventually. "Yeah, thank you for catching me." Isaac smiled and kissed the top of her head. "Anytime, my love. Anytime." And as they sat there together, surrounded by the life they had built, Isaac sent up a silent prayer of gratitude. For second chances and new beginnings, for the courage to love again after loss, for a daughter who had taught him the depths of unconditional love, and a son who had shown him the joy of watching a new life unfold. For family, both blood and chosen, who had supported them through everything. And most of all, for Sophia, the woman who had slipped into his life and his heart on a cold December night, changing everything forever. The millionaire who had wanted him not for what he could give her, but for who he was, a simple man trying his best to be a good father and a good person. She had seen past the worn clothes and the struggling circumstances to the heart beneath, and she had loved him anyway. And he had loved her back with everything he had. It was not a fairy tale with its perfect endings and lack of struggle. It was real life, messy and complicated and absolutely beautiful. And Isaac would not trade it for anything in the world.